Greetings and welcome to the Startup Summit session on how you can grow digital startups to trillion-dollar hedge funds while saving yourself 90% time and cost in building sustainable and resilient enterprises. You can download this interactive e-learning presentation in PDF format from the link which I have shown above here on the slide. I'm Dr. Yogesh Malhotra from New York-based Global Risk Management Network LLC, the global leader of worldwide digital transformation practices, technologies, ventures, teams, and networks since the beginning of the World Wide Web in early 1990s. I'll share with you lessons learned while pioneering digital transformation from Silicon Valley to Wall Street to Pentagon and around the world, how you can apply these lessons we learned. And I'll also provide you specific tools, technologies, frameworks, and resources to get you started. You'll be in good company when you join us on these networks. This slide shows a sample of thousands of worldwide associations, firms, governments, and institutions, many of which you can recognize they have all benefited from our contributions. The next slide provides a broad timeline of our various R&D ventures and related practices, technologies, ventures, teams, and networks over the last 30 years, and related digital, artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantitative analytics, cybersecurity, cryptocurrencies, and cryptographic and quantum technologies. This timeline traces our global digital transformation leadership, spanning Silicon Valley in early 1990s, advancing to Wall Street investment banks and hedge funds during the global financial crisis, and further advancing to the pre-COVID and post-COVID era in which we are currently, which has made digital, virtual, digital business model innovation, and knowledge-based virtual organization household themes. We pioneered all these themes, in fact, going back 2 decades ago. A sample of clients with invited engagements benefiting from our global digital practices are shown here on this timeline. This timeline traces our ongoing digital innovation leadership, starting with building the future of IT, banking and finance, and healthcare, going to advanced future of cyber, fintech, trading, and markets, and in recent years, building the future of AI, ML, quant, cyber, crypto, quantum, as we call this, across industries with specific focus on defense, space, homeland security issues. What makes us different? And what accounts for our continuing global digital innovation leadership? As a note in my Inc. magazine and interview, we obsolete what we know before others obsolete it and profit by continuously creating future challenges and opportunities. The very top leaders worldwide in strategy and in military and defense have adopted this mantra, which I spoke about in Inc. magazine, as their go-to phrase for execution of strategies and execution. While others focus on historical data, we hear about data science a lot, I think in fact too much. They focus on data for prediction based on the past. We actively and proactively create the future by going beyond data, beyond prediction. We focus on anticipation of surprise for managing change, complexity, and uncertainty. In fact, we have been doing this going back 25 years ago. When everyone in technology focused on data, we chose to focus on managing the real problems of change, complexity, and uncertainty management. And what we have discovered 20 years later, that we have a track record of consistently creating the digital future. So we create the digital future. As global pioneer of digital innovation, transformation, and disruption practices worldwide, we have been covering thousands of worldwide reviews across academia, policy, and practices with world leaders such as Microsoft founder Bill Gates, Vice Chairman of PricewaterhouseCoopers Elon Knapp, and Chief Information Officers and the top DoD leadership at Army, Navy, Air Force, and so forth, following our practices. And you see a brief sample of our editorial reviews worldwide. After we got covered by Wall Street Journal for 4 times, we stopped counting. There was too much to really count. Therefore, I think we focused on what we do best, on creating the future. You may be thinking how you can benefit right now from what we have to offer, how you can get started right away, and where do you start? A good starting point, which I show you on this slide, is the MIT AI and Business Strategy Guide, which I recently developed as invited industry expert and MIT AI faculty subject matter expert to guide and lead worldwide industry executives from companies like Google, Microsoft, Tesla, Silicon Valley firms, and other global firms. You can access this guide by clicking on the shown hyperlinks or clicking on the images and text on this particular page. We built this guide by advancing upon our pioneering contributions to real-time enterprise business models and practices. And you can see this picture on the top, which is from the 2005 journal article which we published on this particular topic. While Gartner focused on RTE as a technology, we questioned their analysis and proposed RTE as a business model, something on which we were 15 years ahead of the world. And right now we are seeing RTE business models being applied for national defense and other practices worldwide. This particular guide also provides a background of pioneering research and development in AI, machine learning, and knowledge management practices, besides our world leadership in also defining the foundation of applied practices in self-adaptive complex systems, AI, machine learning, and related practices, foundations of advancing natural language processing, robotic process automation. The very fundamental notions of meaning-aware AI and quantum, human-centered AI and quantum. Our work goes back 25 years on these topics, which are becoming of interest in defining the future of AI and quantum as we speak right now. Following our contributions to worldwide RTE practices and performance models, what we also have focused always on, in contrast to everyone who is focused on data focus, data-driven approaches. Data is a means, technology is a means. Those are not the outcomes we seek. And data, technology, all these things are moving targets. In fact, the only thing of interest is the business performance outcomes that matter. And in a world that changes too fast, we have to use these specific business performance outcomes as the drivers of everything which goes on the input and processing. Therefore, we are different because we thought different and we built different, and that's why we are ahead of the world as leaders of digital innovation for last 25 plus years. In addition, we have also advanced beyond what people think of about the master algorithm. And for instance, we had one of the industry executives from China request us to help advance beyond this master algorithm, which became very popular. What we advise to them basically is how they can advance beyond this computer science model of algorithms. Because the fundamental premises of how people process technology interact to deliver strategic performance, that is the foundation which we have built, on which worldwide practices are built. Therefore, most computer scientists are lost, not having the foundation of how actually people play a very critical role. It is not technology which enables people. In fact, based on all our research, it is the smart people which are most needed for making sure smart technologies deliver what you want them to deliver. Therefore, going further, what we are focusing on right now with our Air Force Research Lab Commercialization Academy ventures are focusing on literally saving the world. While people like Bezos and Musk, you have heard about these multi-billionaires who want to create colonies on Moon or colonies on Mars. Our focus is on 7 billion plus people who live on this earth, making sure that the human civilization and our planet continues to exist so that everyone on this planet, including Bezos and Musk, can fulfill their dreams going further. Therefore, our focus primarily, as is spelled out at the beginning of our AFRL ventures, is that the greatest legacy we can leave the world is the world. The world has to exist for anything else to happen, for these dreams of conquering the space and interplanetary travel and so forth. Because if the world does not exist, there's nothing beyond that. In that context, our focus primarily in the bigger picture is on creating a globally accessible, globally trusted, and globally secure World Wide Web. And having spent about 25 years plus in not only building the systems at the largest scale and rolling those systems worldwide across powering the biggest enterprises and governments, we also have in-depth focus for last years of understanding how systems fail. In fact, our research on AI, machine learning, technologies and systems failure and how to prevent systems failure has been ranked amongst the Nobel laureates in both technology and business areas of finance, specifically in AI and finance. Therefore, the greatest legacy we can leave the world is the world. And what we chose to do here with our latest venture, AML Exchange, is do something epic, save the world. And that is what we welcome you to our networks for collaboration with us to understand how we can not only look at the biggest crises as the defining moments, but create the biggest benefits from these crises. As you see on this specific slide, which is in front of you, what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls the butterfly. You can click on this picture on the link given above. You can read in detail more about the innovation community interview of AI machine learning experts, where I describe this thing in a bit more detail, where I share my story of pitching my first venture for $1 billion funding after being invited to guide Silicon Valley venture capitalists more than 20 years ago. Going to the next slide. In contrast to the popular fashion, as I think, is of everyone trying to fail quickly, fail early, fail fast, fail often. In our scheme of things, there are no failures. We win or we learn. But anyhow, anyway, at every step, we continuously advance forward. We learn and unlearn, and we continue to be going further. Our inspiration goes back to the story of the world's most famous seagull, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. You can click on the link to watch the movie, or you can read the book, one of the most influential books in the world. In alignment with the bird, which sought to fly higher and higher and faster, we push the limits of research and practices so that we can evolve ourselves as the entities we work with, in anticipation of the most adversarial environments in which we are living right now. Going further, what we see that over this age, the era here, this is the era of unprecedented complexity and uncertainty. Though we see our mission as building quantum minds for managing quantum uncertainty and complexity. While everyone is focused on building machines and trying to figure out what to do with those machines, because those machines cannot do whatever they're supposed to do. We are trying to make smarter human machine systems, because our foundational R&D, going back to the first research paper on the themes of meaning-aware AI and human-centered AI, it didn't focus on computer science only. It focused on how computer science and social sciences and other sciences combined together, like cyber sciences, network sciences, all these things work together. And in our knowledge, there is no other entity or organization in the world which has taken that approach. Therefore, we welcome you to bridge all the silos of practices where everyone is caught in data silos or technology silos. And we welcome you to this holistic view of how the real world really works. In that context, we welcome you to our networks so that we can together build a digital future and save the world in that process. The AML Exchange builds on our prior digital transformation communities of practice, the world's first, foremost, and largest digital networks, followed, adopted, and recommended by global leaders, as I might have mentioned, Microsoft, founder of Bill Gates, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Vice Chairman and Chief Knowledge Officer, CIOs of Army, Navy, Air Force, and the biggest organizations and the biggest governments worldwide. Many of these we had the privilege and opportunity of working on one-on-one, as we have been invited to help guide them to the future, starting from the beginning of digital and as we proceed further. Therefore, let's focus on doing something epic, saving the world as we go forward. This screen here, which is the homepage of AML Exchange, as you kind of scroll below, the search engine on the top, you see what our mission here is. We are welcoming you, the digital CEO-CxOs, from startups to $1 trillion to the future, creating the digital future. We want you to know beyond past data, historical data, to future decisions, actions, and performance. While all the data is about the past, all your decisions and outcomes are about the future. That's the fundamental common sense which should guide you in understanding, not getting overwhelmed and obsessed with data, but focusing on where you're trying to go and use and find data accordingly. Also, in addition to that, we welcome you to build digital enterprises to manage risks, uncertainty, and complexity. Because these are the primary drivers which can determine the success, the growth, the failure, or elimination of any organization. While everyone has focused on data going back 25 years, and even now with data science becoming fashionable, we have chosen to continuously focus on managing risk, uncertainty, and complexity. And our record has stood the test of time. And we are optimistic, seeing the last 25, 30 years, that the next 25, 30 years, this will not only become equally, but even more relevant and critical for organizations, as you already see in the current COVID era, that unless you know how to manage risk, uncertainty, and complexity in the environment, your organization, you as an individual, your economy, your nation may not have a shot at surviving over the next decade or so. Therefore, continuing further, we want you to monetize for value and impact. While many others have focused on shareholders and stakeholders and the responsibility, the social responsibility is an afterthought. Our enterprise, the world's first digital social enterprise, which created the world's first digital transformation community network practice and created a digital revolution worldwide, has been the organization founded on the notion of social responsibility is the primary and core driver. We focus not on accumulating, extracting from others, but on giving to others and seeing that we can help them flourish and grow and develop. And many of the written testaments from the world's organizations everywhere and the worldwide press everywhere across business, technology, policy, academia, and R&D, that stands as a testament to our contributions focused on social responsibility being the primary driver. Now, there are multiple magazines which have interviewed me, and some of these interviews are mentioned in the Inc. magazine. Fortune, before you heard of data science, I was discussing data science for bridging theory and practice, data and knowledge. That's what we have been doing all our life. But words come and go, new terms come, but the foundations continue, and the foundations is what we are building on. The CEO magazine article for which I was interviewed, going back 20 years, about 10 years at the time of the crisis, the Wall Street firms said, yes, we need to focus on the future because the past doesn't tell us where we're going to go in the future. Going further, we welcome you to the AML Exchange Network. Whether you are a startup or a trillion-dollar firm or a multi-trillion-dollar company, we can help you scale further and grow further as we have done earlier, based on working with companies which have come to us. We never solicit any business. We never sell. Companies like IBM, Google, Ogilvy, all these companies have come to us without asking. Similarly, Harvard, MIT, they came to us before. More recently, MIT, Princeton, and Pentagon leaders from Air Force, they approached us to help them, and we love to help. We love to contribute. Therefore, what we are offering you here in AML Exchange are multiple ways to understand any area of business practice or technology which is relevant right now, and how you can drill through from the very fundamentals to actually knowing, building, and monetizing these latest and greatest business practices and technologies without really going back 30 years, doing PhD, 5 masters, and the work equal to 6 PhDs, which I have done in my life. Now that work I did because I had a chance to do it, but I think all my contributions are based not on the degrees of courses I did, but on everything I did beyond that. And that's where I think many of you can relate to as entrepreneurs. Going further, what I'm going to do now basically is take you to the AML Exchange page in a minute. But before that, just as a matter of benchmark, I want to share with you that recently working with the Pentagon, Air Force, and Department of Defense leaders, Chief Technology Officer, and other CEOs, that team advising them on building the architecture for the DoD-wide AML Exchange with clients like Air Force Secretary and JIC CTO. I guided them on building these technologies, the architectures, by helping them connect the dots across various technologies, AI, machine learning, cyber, crypto, quantum. These are basically areas we connect. Others have yet to get there. They are selling each license of this technology for about $30 million for each installation. What I'm offering you here, based on this little venture, coming built on research in which I have personally invested millions of dollars, I'm offering you a free resource which you can access right now on any device worldwide to get started and go further. Therefore, what do we see here? You can get to know beyond past data to future decisions, actions, performance, build enterprises to manage risk, uncertainty, and complexity, and monetize for value and impact, whatever you want to monetize. This is the schematic of the AML Exchange homepage, which you can access by typing amlexchange.com as shown here. And there are various ways to navigate this. And I'll help you understand how you can get the most out of this particular technology toolbox portfolio of resources as we have mapped here, building on our experience of last 25 years, going back to that time when Fast Company magazine had mentioned that if our built technology does not have it, then no other technology can have it, basically. We were so thorough and so concise at the same time. The same focus has guided us. And what we are offering you is a 1% solution, so that you can save 99% time, which you waste in going to search different tools, technologies, resources. What we are offering is not on trying to see how we monetize, extract the returns from you. But what we are trying to deliver here is how we can maximally contribute to you so that you can flourish without wasting your time and life going from one search box to another search box and staring at, wondering what you should type in next in the blank screen. We are giving you the knowledge maps on the top. Okay, you can see know, build, monetize. You know about that now. And you also know about the technologies practices which we are focused on: AI, machine learning, deep learning, cyber, crypto, and quantum. Now, through this knowledge map, you can drill deeper, and we have already given you specific topics, the areas in which we have already built practices, technologies, ventures, and R&D. You can pull down these papers and books, journals, presentations, and so forth. Many of them which are accessible through the links which I have shown here. Therefore, download our full text papers, presentations, free of charge. We give it away to the world because we want the world to be a better place. Beyond that, you will observe there's a search box below, and there's a search button, blue, this rectangle right next to that. The search form is basically where you can type in what you want to search. Like fintech is what I'm shown here. You can type anything in here, and you will get what is a meta search portal, which will plug you in not only to hundreds of selected resources mapped on the process on how you can actually know a technology practice area, business practice area, how you can build those ventures, and how you can monetize them. I'll show you that in a minute. But the search button which goes further, after you click it twice, I've shown you by this tool, these brackets on the right side, blue brackets, they take you to our insights blogs. In fact, those insights blogs are the mindset which are most critical for driving these tools. Anyone can copy the tools, technologies, they come and go. But the mindsets and a philosophy of action are what differentiate us. And we want you to have it so that you can succeed at a very great level compared to everyone else. Therefore, beyond those insights blogs, at the bottom you are seeing is what we call meta search portals. I will show these things in a bit more detail in a minute. And let me scroll to the next screen. On this screen, I'm showing you the meta search portal, basically how we have mapped various categories to know, to Google, to learn courses, to find papers and codes for knowing any technology or business area. Then we have also mapped on the build, as we show with B here, the codes, data, models, algorithms, question, answers. These are specific resources. The basic technique here is we are trying to understand and help share with the world how, as pioneers of knowledge management, managing all kinds of knowledge. How we can give you the best returns for the least resources in terms of time, cost, attention, which you have to expense or consume. Beyond the knowing and building, the K and B on the top, you also see monetize below. In that, you have various categories like events, connect, recruit, and monetize through various kinds of investment categories, funding categories, and various kinds of investors. We also have included various places to monetize through venture capital, PE, and so forth, and some other specific areas, and also include the government research grant areas. We are seeing a lot of proliferation of funding activities in the government, and that's where we want you to focus to. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this presentation for a second, and let me flip to the screen, and I'm going to just click on the center of this particular page, because all these screens which I'm showing you are hyperlinked. They're hyperlinked. And I'm going to click on this link here. And it will take me to the AML Exchange page, as you see. So right now we're on the AML Exchange page here. So let me expand the screen so that you can see it completely. This is the AML Exchange page. Now on this page, I'll walk you through some things here. You see know, and when you move your cursor on know, you can see how you can know beyond past data. This is the whole page about how to build a startup. You can click on that and get the resources, how to know about knowledge management, business models, business innovation, virtual organization, digital transformation, disruption, so forth, and the various kinds of risk management. We are the pioneers in risk and uncertainty management. Therefore, we have the most comprehensive in-depth R&D and practices focus, which we want you to benefit, not only the areas of strategic and enterprise risk management, but in the most advanced areas like model risk management, where we have been doing a lot of interesting work across domains in spanning finance and defense. On the right side, as you see here, we have technology practices, and you see a whole bunch of them, starting from data science, AI, machine learning, deep learning, crypto analytics, cryptocurrencies, and so forth, cloud computing. And then on the going further, you have quantum computing, annealing, cryptography, neuromorphic, cognitive computing, and so forth. And model risk arbitrage, which is a new area we developed. And we had the opportunity of presenting it at Princeton, where we have given multiple presentations advancing the areas of AML, quant, cyber crypto, quantum technologies, and related uncertainty and risk management practices. Therefore, we're going to show you that in a minute. Now, look at build here. Now, in building, you know how to build digital enterprises, how to build a startup, how to build business models, virtual organizations, also how to build digital skills, careers, teams, technologies, practices, ventures. And on the right side, you have all these technologies. I shared those on the last screen. In the know, you happen to know about those technologies. Here you get to build those. How do you build those? When you click on these links, you will get to resources which help you building. In most cases, programming of these technologies, how do you actually code, model, using Excel sheets to Python to whatever kind of technologies you want, you can use that in these cases. Now, monetize. In this case, as I mentioned earlier, we lead you to various investments and the kinds of investors going from angels to venture capitalists, the kinds of venture capitalists and angel investors we had the opportunity of guiding, advising, going back 20 years ago in Silicon Valley, to private equity firms. And also on the right side, you see we also distinguish and guide you to various kinds of funding. You want Series A funding, Series E funding, or seed funding, you click on the link and directly you are led to that specific resource, which gets you dive right into that without figuring out, geez, what resource I should go to, what should I type, and what should I do next. We take away all that guesswork, saving you 99% time, offering you a 1% solution, which is the most optimal solution to best manage your time and learn and execute best. So we have also links here, how to invest, get funded, and funding your business. On the right side, we have the focus on the technologies, okay? We go in multiple topics here. I will not go in depth, but I would welcome you to go later after the presentation, dive deep into that and drill through that. On the left side, again, I shared some of that, the master algorithm, the NLP, the RPA, and the various kind of neural networks underlying the deep learning technologies. We hit all of them here. In addition to reinforcement learning, which is the area where we are seeing a whole lot of interest in activities. You'll find, in fact, many of the books which you can download and the courses you can access free. That's some of the top courses from the MIT AI guide, which I showed you earlier. Now, going to building, implementing, again, you have the various technologies and how to program, build those. Cyber crypto, similarly, we go here and you can go into not only how to build the systems, but how to break the systems and how to make sure you reinforce systems so that they cannot be easily broken. The areas like penetration testing, ethical hacking, network security protocols, telecom networks, and so forth. We have built practices in these areas. We have published a lot of presentations papers which are free for you to access. In addition, we also have focus on the wireless networks, network security, and on the building implementing side, again, the focus here is on programming these technologies. And we have these various things like the initial coin offerings, ICOs, STOs, and so forth. There's a lot of advancements going on in these areas, and they help you get to speed in a very short time by just clicking on some of these links here. Going to quantum, quantum. We see our quant work going back to the work which we have done earlier with the top hedge funds on Wall Street, and the work in quantum where we are advancing the practices in defense and space for the Air Force and the joint forces. We see them interrelated. Both are mathematically highly dependent, and both have limitations of math, which we need to understand, not only knowing the math, but understanding the limits where the math fails and becomes fragile, and how we need to apply common sense and experience and intuition. In fact, some of our presentations at Princeton and in other places focus specifically on not getting bogged down in math. Math is great, know the math, but more important than that, know the limitations of math. And more important than limitations of math, which underlies many of these complex AI, ML, DL, and quantum technologies, make sure you have the common sense, because AI and quantum, they do not have common sense. And in most situations, it is your common sense which will save your skin, not the math models which are there, which you're seeing right now in this particular year, last year, where many quant hedge funds have been blown out of water and the manual strategies are winning, because the world is operating in a way, many of these models are not programmed to think in that way. Moving further, I've shown you this map here. I'm going to show you briefly on some of these pages, if I can spend a minute here. Before going further, you can click on no, and we give you insights here. Now, these insights come from the blogs, and the insights, how you can save 90% time, how you bridge the knowing-doing gaps, and how you can operate 24/7, anytime, anywhere. The concepts which are very popular now, but which we pioneered, and we've been thought leaders and practitioners going back 20 years. How to make others black swans your white swans. This is our favorite practice area, because this is a distinction, not between the color of swans, but your mindsets. And that's where all technologies in the world, they cannot help you, but that's where we are the strongest depth in not only research and development, but the practices we are building way ahead of many other practitioners, both in spaces of technology and business. Going further, we take you to monetize. And in monetizing, we have some examples of how to build high-tech startups, how to be a great venture investor. And basically, there are some areas where the control issue, this is the key area, the area of control. That was one of the key areas going back to the first e-commerce, e-business guide we built online before there were any courses or books on that topic. And we had control right there amongst the 4 C's, what we call forces: the content, community, commerce, but control was the key. And right now, after 20 years, control is everything. Control determines what we are seeing. The biggest tech companies do the big tech, and control determines whether your economies and whether your countries will survive in the future. Control determines your level, and self-control is the critical thing. We have published some research going back 15, 20 years ago on self-learning, self-control, self-leadership, which are critical to the development of self-adaptive complex systems. Therefore, we would welcome you to download those papers and review that. Now, going further, we'll look at AML, DL very quickly. We have some areas: AI for the good, trustable AI. AI is not magic. This is critical. Many people, even the smartest people we have seen in the world, okay, throw AI, it'll happen. No, it will not happen. Trust us. We have built the foundations going back 20, 25 years, and we are in touch with the latest developments, and we're pushing the latest boundaries of R&D and practices. We know AI is not magic. And if you trust AI, or even you trust your models, you'll be caught blindsided and blown out of water, and you can't afford to do that, okay? And we focus on our ventures here, which we are trying to advance beyond many of the theoretical notions in computer science. Computer science needs to catch up big time, as most of our research going back to the foundations of computer science in information theory, which has been leading the smartest people in the world and has been tracked by the biggest intel agencies in the world going back 20, 25 years. That is what is critical. We need to understand how humans work, how humans are smarter, way beyond most machines can get there. But the why humans operate as dumb drones is because the current educational systems and the work systems have dumbed the humans and try to make smarter machines. The challenge is in finding the best of humans and best of machines and how to create the best human machine systems. And that is what our core focus has been over the last 25, 30 years. Now, going for the next one, the quantum. Here you can focus on quantum money, quantum blockchains, and why prediction fails. This is the key area. 25 years we've been developing this area, and we are way beyond others who will catch up someday after they fail in data science many times beyond what we are seeing already. Again, how current methods of AI can't get to AGI. Again, going back to our work 25 years ago, meaning-aware AI, human-centered AI, and what is also meaning-aware quantum and meaning-aware AI. Now, going further, we have seen this knowledge map. I've shown you how to drill down. I'll show you one way, basically. How do we get to everything in this thing? I'll pick one example. From this map, I'm going to pick this one link, machine learning. Now, if I click on this link, as we showed earlier, it leads you to this AI ML homepage. And I showed you this page before. I showed you all these areas above here. Now I'm going to show you what is in the meta search portals here. Know, build, monetize. What you're seeing here on the top is the knowing part. Know everything you can, not being stuck only in one engine like Google. You're given a choice of 15 Googles, you can put in 50 engines tomorrow, and that is not difficult. It can be done. But we are ensuring that you're not relying on any one source, because many of these sources are biased, they're not true. Therefore, we do not rely upon any source, any method, any theory. We focus on building common sense and reason by questioning everything. And by trying to tease out multiple methods, multiple models, multiple theories, and looking at the real world and trying to understand how the real world is explained best by questioning any given theory, model, or algorithm. Going further, this is the area basically for helping you build. You need codes, there are sites to get all the codes. You need data sets, models, algorithms. Click on the links. For whatever you typed in above here, if it's machine learning, you can get machine learning data sets, models, algorithms. You type here computer vision, you can do that. If for all that matters, you can pick Pokemon. And if you want to do Pokemon, you can find Pokemon datasets, models if they exist there. If not, why don't be a pioneer? Go ahead, do that if you want to own that specific field of practice. That's how we have operated over the last 20 years. Going further, at the bottom of the screen, I show you how to monetize. How do you monetize events? Collect, recruit, and monetize, funding in various venture schemes, finding various funding types and various type of funders, like your venture capital firms, angel investors, and seed fund companies, and so forth. In addition to the government funding, there's a lot of funding going on in government right now, especially in the defense and space, and we are actively engaged in networking with them. We would love to introduce you to that sector, because that is an area of growing interest with, I think, not only multi-billion, multi-trillion dollars, where our government needs all the help it can to help us advance our national security, homeland defense concerns, which are of primary concern to us as an enterprise which focuses on the safety and security of the world. Therefore, looking at some of these things, a couple of things I want to also share on the know map here earlier. We have built these technologies of practice, not only technologies, but the largest communities of practice, a team of 200 PhDs, hundreds of thousands of contributors, and so forth. And we have written up this research monographs, and these are two examples besides many others I shared with you earlier. These things are becoming fashionable at the time of COVID and post-COVID, the virtual organizations and business models. We did that going back 20 years ago. Now, going further, what we are going to show you now basically is, if time allows, depending on how much time we have, I can click through these links and walk you through. Or you can do this along later. I've shown you many of these details, screens in the PDF, which you can download for the presentation from the link which I've shown you on the cover page. And there you can go further and see each of them. But let me pick one of them to begin with here. Like say I want to go to learn what's machine learning, start with the basics. I can go to the Wikipedia and just pull this page on machine learning, start here if I want. That's one possible way. And other possible ways, say if I want to know machine learning algorithms, I can click here and find various detailed algorithms if I'm trying to look a bit deeper, like boosting quantum machine learning and so forth. Okay. Therefore, beyond some of these areas, there are tons of things here which kind of are similar to Google, not much different here, but I'm going to skip those for the time being. Therefore, I'll go back to this page here. Beyond Google, you can go to Pinterest, DuckDuckGo if you prefer privacy. This is an engine. Quant, another privacy-focused engine, back from France. You want to research the Chinese search engine or the Russian search engine, you get all of them here. Okay. Similarly, from Google, you can find research papers, patents, whatnot on any given topic. Courses, Coursera. So you want to take free courses on machine learning. Some of the top courses you will find at the very top on the screen. These are right here. Go ahead, enroll for auditing, and it doesn't cost you a dime, and you can learn what you want to learn. Next, you got papers like Google Scholar ARX4, which is the Cornell Archive, and SSRN. We have tons of papers in SSRN. There's a tons of papers here. You can find tons of people writing tons of papers. We are ranked in the top 1% authors in SSRN network, which was founded at the Harvard Business School. And in the area of AI, quant, cyber, crypto, quantum, over the last 5 years, we have earned 74 top 10 rankings in R&D, which I think are the maximum rankings by anyone. Therefore, going further, beyond the papers and so forth, you want to go to GitHub, get the code, you can go there. You want to go to Stack Overflow, get the code from there, or learn how to code, ask questions. These are some resources here. In addition, you want data sets, go to data sets. You want models, go to models. Algorithms, similarly. Khan Academy is here too. Many of people like Khan Academy, which starts with the focus on younger generation and school level people, and that's a good area to start. If you are at that level, that's great. In addition to that, we have events. You want to attend webinars, conferences, hackathons, competitions, everything is in here. You want to find people on LinkedIn to connect, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, everything is here. Now we are seeing a whole lot of evolution in the connect phase, the social networks, and expect to see a whole lot happening in this space, and this is going to evolve as we go further. Recruit, you want to find jobs on Indeed, on the government jobs, on USA jobs, or other companies, you can do that, or any other resources, but here are some links given to you, which we have found are kind of more stable, more relevant to our focus. Monetizing, accessing incubators, accelerators for seed funding, series A, B, C, D, E, up to mergers, acquisitions, and IPOs. We got all you covered in all these areas. Now we have been publishing, practicing in many of these areas, and we have built our understanding and formal training in all these areas, or we have actually created many of these new areas and practices going further. Okay. Therefore, and if you want the government funds, SBIR, SCTR are good places to start. In addition to National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, these are interesting. Military funding, some places here. Okay, great. Now, what I'm going to do now, basically, I'm going to switch back to the end of the presentation since we might be nearing the end time. Therefore, let me flip back. Therefore, to my presentation here. At this point, I'm going to slide through all the slides which relate to the areas I've shown to you. You can refer to these slides on the PDF, as I mentioned to you earlier. What we have right now, basically, multiple search engines, instant blogs, insights blogs, 1% solution, save 99% time. That's what we give to you. In many of these cases, I mentioned some of these and some of others are shown here. Going further, okay, therefore, what we just reviewed are some of the things you can find access through these maps, which I shared with you, right? And going further, we covered this particular email exchange. Therefore, this is a page where we are showing you where you are into the index PHP. That means you are on the second bracket here. You see that? On the next jump, if you click here, if you see this stuff, PHP on the top, you will go to the blogs. And what are the inside blogs? This is the mindset focus. In fact, on our social networks, you will see our micro. We write about 20 seconds issues on the latest practices, technologies, and relate our research to that. That's how we are advancing practice, by interacting with the real world every single day of the year. And that's where we welcome you to see what we are trying to do. And we welcome the whole world in helping advance the practices and technologies in these areas by questioning them, making sense of them, and seeing how we can do them better, cheaper, faster, but also for the greater good of the whole world. Now, when you go into these social blogs, this is our interface you will see there. You're going to find a whole lot of articles. For example, if you had machine learning and you click on that and you scroll, you'll find we have about 630 insights blog posts already there. You can click on them, walk through them, and see whatever. But in case you want to access various meta tags, the hashtags, as you know, you can click on those, or you can type anything up there and you can kind of review those technologies. You want deep learning, you want machine learning for quantum computing, type add quantum computing on the interface, and you can get both of them. If there's nothing in those blogs right now, as though they are growing all the time, you will be guided to the portals back, and those portals will guide you back into other resources which are all around the world. Okay. Now, what we share with you is how do we save you 90% time, cost, and effort in digital execution. Hopefully, we have held to that promise, and we can deliver that to you for free, because this is the technology we built to help everyone in the world. Because there are companies which come to us, they've been paying us tens of thousands of dollars per hour for the last 20 years for our time. But we are often occupied in building stuff to change the world. We didn't use the term change the world, but that's what our work is shown. It's been doing for the last 25 years. We love what we are doing, and we love to see the world progress, evolve, advance, and flourish based on what we have been able to do. And that's the biggest gratification for us. Not what we accumulate, but what we give, what we can leave a legacy here at the time of when everyone perishes below the ground. Everyone needs about 6 feet space, but some people kind of want to accumulate thousands of acres. That makes sense to them, good enough. The happiness and success, I mentioned those things earlier. Those are two things which are relevant to every human being on the earth. Happiness is wanting what you get. Success is getting what you want. Therefore, as long as you can figure that one out, depending on what you want, and you get it, and make sure you want once you get it. I think that's where we are trying to build the mindsets, and not only the machines which can help everyone be happy and successful in the world as possible. Okay, going further, we also showed you where to start. There's a tons of research, 30 years of work, so many degrees, courses, 6 PhD equivalents. You don't have to spend your time there, because that world is past. We moved beyond that. We are creating the future. You can jump right in here from this starting point, which I showed to you. Okay, recap. Now, next recap, I showed you this is the secret sauce. The things we have done, the world is caught in data. We are focused on how to manage complexity and uncertainty. The world is focused on prediction based on past. We are focused on anticipation of surprise, because all your data is about the past, all your decisions, outcomes about the future. That's the biggest disconnect across all practices, primarily in finance, defense, as we have already published, practiced, and written about. The future of AI, cyber, crypto, quantum space, again, silos, that's a very big issue. It spans every single area. We have seen people fragmented technology moves. People have old technologies, legacy technologies, new things, and it's a royal mess out there. If you see the real world organizations, we have worked across various sectors, across government organizations, with the smartest people in the world, the smartest organizations, the biggest finance and biggest technology firms, and the biggest organizations in defense and space, as we have been doing recently. The point here is, how do we solve these messes out there? That is a big problem. The messes are what the natural state of the world is. Everyone learns, goes to school, learns the normal distributions and statistics and probability. The world is non-normal, non-linear. It'll be good to know that before just getting a PhD and trying to put a normal model everywhere and blowing up the world, which you can do in finance. But if you do the same thing in defense, the risk is you can blow up the world without really intending to do so. And that's what we want to make sure we can preempt and mitigate those risks by helping the world pick up the common sense based on the things. Now, one of the biggest common sense here is focus not only on building systems, but understanding why systems fail, breaking the systems, and before others break them, you break them yourself. So just check and test where you are most vulnerable, so that you can make sure that your enterprises, your business models, your careers, your lives, they will be sustainable regardless of any breakdowns. We are going through some of those issues like we are seeing in the social media right now, but expect those things across the board. They have been, in fact, everywhere with botnets, ransomware, and so forth. Now, those things have been happening for a long time, but I think we are going to be seeing more interesting stuff. As what the Chinese saying goes, may you live in interesting times. I think these are the most interesting times, which are giving you the greatest opportunity to learn, execute, and advance forward. Going further, okay? We are seeing the fortress battleships to fortress balance sheets under attack. And how do we fight invisible enemies, invisible risks? These are critical. Our models, our knowledge, our courses, our books, they don't even touch the kind of things we are looking at right now. You know from COVID what we are seeing right now. All models are wrong. Everyone knows that. And yet we see the biggest song and dance around models and science and data and science. I will not go in detail, but if you want to drill deeper, there's a lot we've written in our insights. Dig through the blogs on COVID. There's a whole lot of about COVID and other things on this particular interface, the C4I cyber. This is most critical. AI belly, AI machine learning is the engine to make you move faster. C4I cyber is the shock absorber, which makes sure that engine doesn't blow up into little tiny pieces, whether your engine is in finance or in defense and space. Therefore, this is the key piece here. AI, ML exchange, the focus is on we create the digital future. That's the optimization, efficiencies, cheaper, better, faster. C4I cyber, the focus is because the world depends on it, okay? Because the world cannot survive unless we have the systems which cannot sustain, they're not resilient, okay? So that's our depth, and that's a strong area for the last 20, 25 years. The world is kind of working in a patch mode when they get AI, ML, and then they think of C4I cyber. We think of all these things together at the same time. And that's where we have been helping the various practitioners across the various domains in government, private companies, public practices, as well as institutions, okay? And we would love to help you. We would love to help you. Here is again, I showed you the social blogs, and you can access those as I showed you earlier. Find what we have our focus on in contrast to many companies. Many companies, you heard the term, they started in the Silicon Valley, do no evil. And later on, I think they evolved. And right now, we are seeing a whole lot of antitrust issues. But these companies were clients to, in the beginning, and we love to work with them, help them advance. Right now, we are focused on continuing our tradition of building the human-driven networks. That's what we have built on. That's what we have loved doing. And that's what we see the biggest gap right now, which is echoed by Silicon Valley, some of the top venture capitalists there. What we need are networks that empower rather than exploit users. We have built networks through the last 25, 30 years to empower and never exploit our users. Okay, adversaries is a different game. When adversaries play with us, we are few miles ahead in not only adversarial but also counter-adversarial modes. That's a game of defense and space where we have the control doctrine, which is based on the foundation of our R&D as an antidote to unrestricted warfare. You can read about it on various blogs if you want to read about it, okay? We showed you some examples of colleagues, these direct companies which have come to us, and we have loved to help them over time. And we have shown you a whole bunch of other companies, associations, organizations worldwide. If you kind of look at the scale and scope, I think we have covered most of the world, most countries of the world, most kind of organizations in the world. And if you count the organizations and all these people which work for all these companies, including the various governments, the various armies, navies, air force across the world, intelligence agencies, in healthcare, in finance, in other areas like consulting, the biggest companies, I think our impact has been more significant than the companies with the biggest capitalization. Our capitalization is not in terms of how much money we have. We are not a stockholder-driven company or a stakeholder as it has been defined now. We are a company driven by social impact. We were the first digital social enterprise, and we are proud to be the world's rare social digital enterprise right now going to define the future as we have been able to do earlier. Therefore, welcome you, and with this, I'll conclude my presentation and I'll stop my screen share. But you're welcome to ask any questions, and if this is a virtual presentation, I would welcome your questions. You have my LinkedIn and my homepage and my email and phone number, all those things are there, voicemail. Feel free to contact me, get in touch with me, and let us see how we can collaborate together to build the future of the world. Make sure, let us save the world so that everyone else can achieve their dream for doing whatever else they love to do. So with this, I will stop my recording and have a great day, have a great session. Look forward to collaborating with you in the future. Signing off, Yogi, Dr. Yogesh Malhotra from Central New York.